Hiya! Thank you for joining me today. Today I want to talk about a film which I watched last night, which is Black Panther. Now, Black Panther is directed by Ryan Coogler. It stars Chadwick Boseman, Lupita Nyong'o. You have Michael B. Jordan. I'm just going to read the list because there's so many people in it. You've got Danai Gurira. You have Martin Freeman, Daniel Kaluuya, Letitia Wright, Angela Bassett, Forest Whitaker, Andy Serkis. Huge cast. And as anyone who has been following anything about this film will know, a predominantly black cast. Now, as a white person based in the UK, I'm not necessarily the right person qualified to talk about how authentic or how this represents black culture. What I can say is that, and to get this out of the way right at the beginning, this film felt to me, in my limited sort of way of addressing this, it felt like it did a very good job of treading that line between sort of tribal cultural background and proud heritage with this futuristic world of Wakanda, which is a hidden, sort of secluded society which kind of withdrawn itself from the world and is now opening itself back up to being seen and being known by the world in general. Now, the film is I think only the third film by Ryan Coogler after Fruitvale Station and Creed. And to be frank, as a sort of a curve of progress, it's phenomenal for a director. I've watched both of his previous films. I really, really enjoyed them. I thought Creed is a great film. Fruitvale Station, which again he's tended to collaborate a lot with Michael B. Jordan. It's a really sort of emotionally powerful film. Creed did something I didn't think was necessarily possible in continuing the Rocky franchise and actually building on it and going a little bit further with some of its story, kind of swerving off in a slightly different direction, but building it in a way that I think didn't feel like it was possible prior to the work from Ryan Coogler. And this film is a worthy addition to its canon. I would say that the film, being part of the MCU, you're always going to get that overarching sort of need to fit into the overall world. You have characters who are introduced from other areas of the franchise who are your kind of crossover characters, where you've got Claw, played by Andy Serkis, and you have Martin Freeman coming in there, as they call themselves, the Tolkien White Boys, which I thought was quite clever. It's a good, funny play on words there. But they are. This film is predominantly about its black cast, and it's about its portrayal of this world in what felt to me, and again, I'm by no means the best judge of this, but it felt to be a respectful and yet positive and powerful depiction of this culture. Now, as a film itself, I really, really like this. I thought it was a great film. It's fast-paced, a lot of action. It hardly ever lets up whatsoever. This is something that we've kind of come to expect from Marvel films. Because it's part of the MCU, it's going to be a little bit grounded by what needs to come next, what's come before, and yet with that in mind, for me, it told it a centered, well-located, specific story about Black Panther. And it didn't feel like it was being pulled in too many directions by what else was happening. There are glimpses of the MCU involved in this, similar to what happened with, let's say, Thor Ragnarok, which again was very much centered on this one story of Thor. Same with Ant-Man, very much centered on this one story of Ant-Man. And I think they've done another really, really good job here of introducing a character that we have seen in Civil War, but has now become that much more fleshed out, that much more realistic to us, and has, I think, been now grounded and centered as a critical character within the MCU. So I gave the film overall I'm playing between an 8 and a 9 out of 10. I think in my more generous moments, I'm thinking 9. I would imagine that over time with these MCU films, I find that the bar gets that little bit higher because there's been so many of them. Because ranking them and sort of rating them is difficult. The more and more there are, I find that my bar is starting to rise of what I expect from these kind of films. And on that basis, I think I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. It's thoroughly enjoyable. It's fantastic to watch. It is It's interesting. I will argue that it's important in the same way that, for example, Wonder Woman was important last year. It is important to see this huge black cast arranged on a screen with great roles, really sort of tackling issues directly and head on. And I think for that reason, it is an important film. As Wonder Woman was an important film from last year for having this strong female character up front. And I know some people complain and say that, well, we've had big black casts before. We've had women being strong lead characters in films before. We have, but this is big box office for the masses filmmaking that is aimed squarely at bringing in big bucks. And the idea that it's difficult to have a sort of billion-dollar blockbuster type film, edging into that $800–900 million blockbuster type film, with either an all-black cast or with a female lead, it's interesting to see that being disproven. And I think Black Panther is going to make a huge amount of money. I think they'll make more money in the US than international. I think it's going to be skewed towards the US market. But I really hope it does well internationally. My cinema was not as busy as I would have hoped for it to be, which was a little bit disappointing for a film that's only just been out this week, but it's been out since Tuesday in the UK, so here we've had a few more days. So maybe a lot of people went to see it on Tuesday, but I was hoping to see more people in the cinema. I hope it does really well internationally. Anyway, thoroughly recommend the film. Great film, worthy addition to the MCU. If you like the MCU, I think you'll love this. If you're not into comic book movies, then I think there's enough here to entice you into the cinema and maybe get you to go and have a look at this in a way that maybe for other MCU movies you wouldn't want to bother. Anyway, thanks for joining me today. Really, really good to talk to you. If there's any comments, please let me know down below. Look forward to hearing from anyone. If you need to get hold of me through email, you can obviously, as I've mentioned, get hold of me on julietteisnoir@gmail.com. And I have a new website now, which is www.julietteisnoir.uk. Not .com, not .co.uk, but .uk. And I'm going to be posting things up there from time to time and just trying to create a space for discussions about things that really interested me. So I'll put the link to that down below as well, and along with my email. And we look forward to hearing from you. I'd love to get your comments. It's always fantastic to hear from everyone. And as ever, bye! Bye!